Okay, are we live? Uh, Almost there, right?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, the first episode, I think we were talking in Portuguese when we went live, right? But hey, folks, I think we're live now. How
I guess
are
we
you
are.
doing? Yes, finally. How are you doing, everyone? I hope you are doing great because we have another excellent episode of Chá Pedagógico for you, episode number 2. Rudy, I'm very excited about this one because you know when we were discussing, as we always do, on WhatsApp and Instagram, and Rudy has a name for those moments that they are called nerdices, because we started picking
Early
each
morning.
other's brains,
Early
right?
morning energies.
Yeah, and then I said, wow, this is great because yeah, people are talking about this. There's this trend of Montessorian schools around the world. And I said, this is going to be a great episode. So here we are again. Let's say thank you to our sponsor, Disal. We're
Yeah.
doing this through their channel, and we're just excited to be here with you guys and get started. Right, Rudy?
Yes, episode number 2 of this new era of Chá Pedagógico. So
Yeah.
Sunday, February 18, 6:01
Yep.
p.m. Awesome.
Yeah.
Montessori, huh? Montessori. I don't
Montessori,
know.
man.
I don't know if you guys were actually following some of the posts that we've had in the last couple of weeks, but we kind of like teased this episode. We asked some questions about what you guys understand from this
Yeah,
Montessorian method. We asked you what you would like to know about this Montessorian method as well. So there
exactly.
were some, you know, Easter eggs, I'd say, or some
Yeah.
treats that we, just
And, and
posted.
and we'll keep doing that, by the way, right? We
Of
like
course,
doing stuff like
always,
that.
always, always,
Yeah.
always, always, always.
But man, I just wanted to remind everyone that every time we come together here, we really try hard to combine things that are not very easy to combine, or maybe people are not combining them very often, let's say. So that's why, since we have a background in language teaching, neuroscience, linguistics, we're always going to try to bridge that. So how does
Yes.
Montessori fit, under the umbrella of language teaching, ELT, and applied linguistics? So that's why it's really nice for you folks to let us know what you want to know so that we can
Yes.
find those connections. That's when the nerdices happen, when we're trying to find the connections, right, Rudy?
Exactly. And there's one more thing. We're always
Yeah.
welcoming questions. So whenever you
Yeah.
have any questions about either this episode, previous episodes, or future episodes, if you want to say, "Oh, Rudy, Andre, I have a
Yeah.
question about this. Why don't you have an episode on this? Why don't you have an episode on that?" Send us the questions.
Yes, they are welcome.
You know, we always welcome your questions. We always welcome your doubts. Don't be a stranger. We're there,
Yeah.
especially because we're also going to have a special channel that Giselle is opening to us, and we are also going to answer your questions on this channel. You know, so
Yeah.
every time you have questions, send us your questions. Again,
Exactly.
about previous episodes, about future episodes, something that you would like us to talk about in depth
Dude,
in a
you're
future
you're giving a
episode.
major spoiler now, huh? Yeah, we're gonna have a
No,
channel somewhere.
uh,
It's not a YouTube channel or anything, but we're gonna have a
no, 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 no,
some
no.
somewhere that you will actually be able to check out the answers to questions you have.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
stay tuned. Things are coming your way.
Yes.
But dude,
Yes.
let's talk about Montessori then, right? So
Exactly.
I just wanted to say one thing about Montessori that I think everybody should know. Dude, I'm a huge fan of Montessori. I think she was awesome.
Hmm.
And I remember I became a bigger fan when I started studying in psychology of education. I started studying different approaches and methods to teaching. And I remember that under the, let's say, ideology or the philosophy of constructivism, we studied Montessori. because the idea that Montessori had that became her method was that kids are intrinsically motivated to discover the environment, so they are engaged with the surroundings, and they're building or constructing their knowledge as they explore. And that's really fascinating if you think about it, because before her, really, who thought that? Most people thought that kids were just uh
To be honest, everything was very framed.
yeah,
Kids were, they didn't have freedom. Everybody thought that kids should have a limit
exactly.
imposed on them. So yeah, Maria Montessori came in and she kind of
Yeah,
she was a game changer.
she was revolutionary. And when you said we should talk about this, one of the things that really struck me right away was that Montessori was a doctor. She was a physician from
Mhm.
Italy. And I know a lot of people are familiar with some of her work, but you might not know that her contributions to, our understanding of the brain today were very important as well, because Piaget was talking about that, but in a different way. But Maria Montessori was the one who said that there are different sensitive periods when the cognitive development of kids is concerned, And then she called, and this is the cool thing, she called the mind of kids absorbent mind, because it's
Yes.
always absorbing stuff from the surroundings, right, Rudy?
Which happens to be the title of one of her books, The
Yes.
Absorbent Mind. I happen to have the edition of this book in Spanish, which is La Mente Absorbente.
Aha.
Yeah, that was. I'm
That
so
was
sorry about.
that's good, man. I
Was that
loved
a
it.
good pronunciation? I feel like
That was perfect,
Christopher
man.
Waltz
You're
in
you're better prepared
Inglorious
than I am
Bastards.
for Latin America
You
travel,
know,
So yeah, definitely.
I I didn't
You
I
did good.
didn't I didn't do like Brad Pitt, Gorlami. It wasn't like that, right?
Yes.
It wasn't like that.
No, it was way better.
Not at
Yeah.
all, right? But it's interesting because in this book, The Absorbent Mind, she explains what the core of her method is. Because the core of her method in this is what I think is the point of misunderstanding that we have. Okay. So let's talk about what she said. And then I think we can focus on some of the misunderstandings or
Yeah.
misinterpretations that we have on what she said, of what she said. So the core of this book of the Montessorian method is that when kids are free to experiment with whatever, this is going to spark their curiosity. And the more curious they get, the more they're going to try to seek for answers. And the more they try to seek for answers, the more they're going to develop.
Yeah.
um, yes. This is what.
Yes, but right, and we will
Yes,
talk
but
about it. Yeah.
that's it. And if we think
Yeah.
about the development of language, this is pretty much obvious. In fact, what
Yeah.
she said 1 gazillion years ago, I'm terrible with numbers. I think you guys already know that. But what she said, especially in this book, uh, is in tandem with what applied cognitive linguistics is talking nowadays, because they say that students, they need to have freedom to use the language, and then based on what they are coming up with, teachers should pretty much interfere and
Yeah.
then adjust whatever needs to be adjusted. So
And yeah.
we do have. I'm still finishing a book on applied cognitive linguistics that just came to me this last week, actually, because Sunday is the first day of the week. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Maria Montessori said also that when kids have this freedom, they are going to get more mature.
Yeah. More autonomous, right? But dude, we got to remember one thing, and this is key when it comes to Montessorian schools. So there are three very important elements in a Montessorian school, and they are the kid
Yep.
itself, the kid, the adult that is going to follow the kid and encourage the kid and help, but most importantly, the environment. So the
Yes.
environment has to be prepared for the kid.
Yes.
And one of the
Yes.
things that triggered Montessori to think about that. So I read her biography a couple of years ago. I actually had the privilege of going to the Casa dei Bambini that she founded in 1907 in San Lorenzo in Rome. And what really sparked that was that she went to some psychiatric hospitals in Rome, and she saw how kids with intellectual disabilities or kids who were actually ill or had some kind of mental condition were treated kind of like animals, you know. And she felt
Yeah.
really sorry, and she said, this is terrible. We got to do something about that. And then she started thinking about how kids, when they have access to a rich environment that really catches their attention and sparks their curiosity, they can learn things pretty much on their own. But of course, they have the support of a grown up, because
This
there
is
is
very
a
important. This is
path, right,
key.
that they follow.
This is
That's
key.
it. That's it,
This
right?
is key. This is
Yeah.
what you said is of essential to actually break one of the misconceptions that we've had. And I'm saying we've had, or I
Yeah.
could actually say we've been having,
Yeah.
because many schools that are self-proclaimed Montessorian, they
Yes.
have this misconception that kids should be free to do whatever they want, and then whenever they have some sort of question, or whenever they find themselves in trouble, the teacher is going to interfere.
Yeah.
That's a misconception because, again, exactly, we have three pillars in the Montessorian method, as you said: the kid, the adult, and the environment.
That's it.
Because the adult should be the model or the mediator,
The mediator.
the
There you
kid
go. Yeah.
is the performer, and the
Yeah.
environment should be ready so that the kid can perform with the help of the mediator in this environment and perform well. So these are the
Exactly.
three pillars that we have in the
And
Montessorian method.
dude, I just wanted to remind people. So, how can you spot a true Montessorian school? Like how? So that's the thing, because I've traveled to schools, you know, to help them with the bilingual curriculum and everything. They were not Montessorian schools. I'll tell you that. They thought they were. They put the name up there, but they were not. So you can very easily spot a Montessorian school because of the furniture. So you
Mhm.
look at the furniture adapted for the kids. You look at the workstations, you know, so they have a bunch of toys that are not really, they are toys, but you know, they are ways of figuring out the world. So kids,
Yes.
they spend time working with those things, and those
Yes.
things are related to everything you can imagine. So really science, think about, you know, discovering the world.
Yes.
Also literacy, learning how to read and write. Also
Yes.
math. So you have a bunch of games specifically prepared for those kids so that they can figure out stuff as they move through the room, right?
Yes.
And that's, again, absorb in mind. Just to wrap up, she says that there is an age or a period, a sensitive period, the first one from birth to 3 years, around 3 years, that kids have an unconscious mind, you know. So she calls them unconscious absorbent minds, you know, which means that they are sort of acquiring, very similar to the definition of acquisition by question, you know. So
Yes.
implicit, unconscious, they're just surrounded by, you know, stimuli, and then learning in an implicit way, right? And then from 3 to 6 they become conscious, because that's the language, the linguistic period that is flourishing, so they can use language to express themselves more, right? And
Yes.
then they can start thinking, really, because again, that we talked about that in the last episode. Thinking, thought, language, they are
Yes.
connected, right? Yeah.
Yes. M Still talking about how to spot a real Montessorian school. I wouldn't even say the furniture. The furniture, of course, is something that, it's going to be the first thing that you're going to lay your eyes on.
Yeah.
Uh, but also the bathroom. Take a look at the
Ah,
bathroom
yeah,
for the
that's true.
kids, because this autonomy must be fostered. This is crucial. This is the core of the Montessorian method: autonomy for the kids. When Maria Montessori talks about freedom, she wants to foster autonomy.
Yeah.
That's why they have That's why we
Like
have the
self-sufficiency,
pillars.
right? Yeah.
Self-sufficiency,
Yeah.
exactly. So as you said, from going to the restroom, I should have said restroom, not bathroom, but anyway.
Yeah.
So going to the restroom, the toilets should be perfect for the size of kids because they should learn and have autonomy to go to the restroom and do whatever they need to do themselves without necessarily the presence of an adult there all the time
Yeah.
and do everything for them. Also, the sink. I'm
Yeah.
telling you this because my daughter studies at a Montessorian school. That I
Yeah.
also happened to develop some projects with that school some time ago. And when you go to the restroom, even the sink is perfect for them because they learn how to wash their hands. They don't need
Yeah.
an adult to help them. They can brush their teeth. So my daughter brushes her teeth. I don't have to, unless, of course, there's
Yep.
something, when she eats chocolate, for example, then, of course, I'll have to help my daughter. But on a daily basis, she brushes her teeth herself. So this is the
Yeah.
self-sufficiency that we were talking about. But the misconception is freedom.
Yeah.
When you go to a school and they are self-proclaimed Montessorian, and you see kids doing whatever they want to do without any mediation from the teacher,
Yeah.
without any interference from the teacher, uh, that's a red flag. That's a huge
Exactly.
red
And
flag.
you know what? I remember you told me you have to show everyone Hannibal. And I'm gonna. So I
Yeah.
have Hannibal here. By the way, folks, Rudy was the
Finally.
one who named Hannibal for us because yeah, I think we talked about this in one of our old episodes, but we're geeks and we love Dr. Hannibal, and there's a movie. Uh, it's a major spoiler, but come on, the movie's like 20 years old. But there's a scene that Anthony Hopkins is actually doing stuff to Ray Liotta's brain while he's still conscious, so he's actually and he's cutting pieces of his brain. So it's really weird and bizarre, but that's why it's Hannibal. We love
Yeah.
Hannibal. And Rudy said something very important. So why is it that we should not give kids total freedom to do anything they want all the time? There's research showing that self-discovery, and this is something that I'm sure teachers are familiar with, self-discovery doesn't work all the time as much as we think. Self-discovery is one of the bases of Montessori, yes, but it's mediated by an adult, and there's a logical sequence because the environment is prepared, well structured for the kids. And what happens is we know that. So this is the frontal lobe for people who are going to listen to us. I'm sorry you cannot see what I'm doing, but I'm showing Hannibal and I'm showing the frontal lobe of the brain. And right here we have the working memory network. And if we are overloaded with too much information, that means that we go through something we know as cognitive overload, basically.
Yes.
And then we cannot really process things really well. And that's what happens if suddenly kids have to do something very complicated. They have too much choice. They cannot choose what they want to do, and there's no one explaining to them what they have to do, so they cannot perform very well. That's a problem because they have to transfer whatever knowledge enters their memory, their working memory, to their long-term memory. So it's going to be stored in different parts of the cortex. But if it's too much information, if it's not well structured, if it's beyond the level of their cognition, cognitive overload, they
Yes.
cannot handle that. So that's why you should not simply allow kids free all the time and they'll figure out how the world works. It doesn't work
Yes.
like that.
And for crying out loud, not only with kids, when we adults are faced with too many options, we don't know what to do. Many people don't know what to do. They're like, okay, what do I do now? Some people do try to do everything at once. At the same time, some people just freeze and they're like, okay, what do I do
Yeah.
now? Some people tend to prioritize things, have some strategies, develop strategies. But yes, and so you guys are on the same page. This cognitive overload when our brain is filled with information and a lot
Yeah.
of things going on. It's as if we had uh, an alarm that
Yeah.
goes off, and then once, or a switch that goes off. And when the switch goes off, forget it. Nothing's going to work anymore.
It doesn't work.
Forget it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Your brain is shutting down. Your brain is saying, "Uh oh, too much. Too much. That's
And
it. Let's shut down."
you touched on something very important, because so when we studied constructivism, we are talking, and I think there's a helicopter flying around here. They're looking for a fugitive or
Is
something,
the
right?
FBI looking for
It's
you?
the FBI looking for Hannibal, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
but so constructivism focuses a lot on our agency as, kids, or even grown-ups, with the world, and our interaction with the world, much more than our interaction with other people.
Yeah.
So that's why later on we added the prefix social, social constructivism or social constructivism, especially because of, you guys know Vygotsky, right? So so this is one of the criticisms, I'd say, about the Montessorian method, even though she talked about that. She said that kids would help each other and interact,
Yeah.
but the focus is too much on kids' individuality, self-sufficiency, autonomy, independence, and agency and
Yes.
protagonism. So those are
Yes.
the words that are usually associated with Montessori. We must not forget that they are, yes, exploring the environment freely. There's a mediator in the room, the grown up, but they also have to learn how to interact with the other kids. And the
Yes.
cool thing about Montessorian schools is that kids don't have to have the same age necessarily. They
Yeah.
should be probably within the same sensitive period. So,
Hmm.
you can have kids from, birth to 3 in the same classroom. Okay. You can have kids from, 4
4, 5.
to 6 in the same classroom.
Yeah.
Okay. They can learn a lot from each other, but they have to interact. So again, as a mediator, you gotta push them to do certain things as well. So
Yes.
forget about this thing of total freedom for kids, guys. It doesn't
Hmm.
work very well.
Mm-mm. And
Yeah.
when you go to a real Montessorian school, how does that work? Because they have centers or
Yeah.
stations. Here in Brazil, we call them centers. It can also be called. They can also be called stations. Um, how does that work inside of a Montessorian classroom? The kids are there, and then everything's set. The
Yeah.
activities are set. The materials are set. And then the teacher can guide students like, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And then if for some reason the kid says, oh, I don't want to do this now, the teacher will still guide the kid, say, okay, why don't you do this instead? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do this instead. And then they settle the kids all around the classroom. And when time's up, they say, okay, guys, let's do something else. So there's always this kind of interaction. There are stations where kids have to work by themselves, depending on the activity. There are some
Yeah.
activities that, in this is super Montessorian and super constructivist because, as you were saying, it's all about the individual. For
Exactly.
language acquisition, that's something that we're going to talk about in a minute. But for language acquisition, that's not so good. Not even even in the book, The Absorbent Mind. Uh, she says something that it doesn't work like this, but
Yep.
okay. But that's how it works. So depending on the activity, they are going to work by themselves. And then, okay, time's up, guys. So let's go. Let's do something else. And then the kid that was alone doing some sort of activity alone, this kid is going to a different station where they're going to do something together because
Yeah.
that activity requires teamwork, for example. But the teacher is always there. The
There you
teachers
go.
are always mediating. The teacher is always paying attention. The
Yeah.
teacher will interfere in case the kids need
Yeah.
interference,
The
and that's
teacher
very important
works
as
as a
well. That's the
guide,
kind of it's a
Yeah.
guided
It's
freedom.
a guide. Yeah.
It's not like they are out in the wild and Yeah, let's do it, kids.
Yeah, let's just put
Just do
some
whatever you want. Yeah,
kids in this
do whatever
room
you
and see
want.
what
I'm
they
going to take
do,
a look
right?
at my WhatsApp. I'm going to take a look at my Instagram here.
Yeah.
No,
But you
that's
know
not
the
Montessori.
cool thing is that they learn when the tutor is not there. I think Montessori said something that you allow kids to follow their creativity, their instincts, their curiosity, but of course you nudge them a little bit if they're not going where they should go.
Sure.
But then when you leave them there, that's when they learn best, like when you become invisible. So you're just nudging them, taking them where they have to go. But here's the thing. So that's the part that if you look at the evidence today, and there are a bunch of studies showing, okay, there's this book by Stanislas Dehaene, this
Mhm.
French neuroscientist, and there's a whole chapter about why constructivist schools don't work as much as we think. Because again, we have to be careful. I'm not saying they're bad. They're usually better than regular schools, to be
Of
honest,
course.
Yeah. But we have to be careful with the amount of discovery that you are expecting from the students without support. And that's the thing. And everybody here is familiar. I think most people are familiar with the idea of scaffolding, right? Which is really being there, giving that nudge and being there, providing extra support so they can do something that they cannot do by themselves.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So you are helping them take the next step. And without you, they would not be able to do that. That's the idea. So we have to be very careful when we are working in environments where kids are expected to do a lot of self-discovery. On the other hand, we know that there are other pedagogies like Reggio Emilia, Pickler, that they are kind of based on the same premise of follow the kid, pedagogical documentation, take notes, take pictures, film the kids doing things, and then go back so you can analyze their learning curve. Exhibit their work, so they are working with sculpture, or they're making a vase, or they're painting or drawing something. Expose that, so they can see where they are. Take notes, follow the kid. Yeah, that's cool, but be careful not to just let the kids completely free, because you are
Mhm.
going to overwhelm their brains.
Yes. And it's completely understandable why some people and some schools have this misunderstanding,
Yeah.
because this is one of the points that I completely disagree with Maria Montessori in her book, The Observant Mind. She says, and I quote, and I have to read, okay,
Yeah.
the book's here, that I'm going to
Aha.
read the passage. It's in Spanish. I'm not going to read it in Spanish. I'm going to try to translate it to English as
Necesitas
I
leer
read
en
it.
español.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Seriously, I'm not going to. No, no. But it's going to be in English, which
Yes.
is not good either. But anyway, um, the language spoken is produced by a nature mechanism and
Ah.
not by a reasonable thinking.
Oh.
So
Very
this is
Chomskyan.
exactly.
Yeah.
But we have to remember certain things
Yeah.
here. Okay. I'm going to take a look here because, again, I'm terrible with numbers and I don't want to say that this was like 1 gazillion years ago.
Yeah.
The book that I have is from 1986. Okay.
Yep.
And Maria Montessori probably came up with this in the post
1910,
World War,
12,
yeah,
or even, yeah,
post
something
World
like
War
that.
One, post
Yeah.
World War One. Okay. This was the beginning of the 20th century. The beginning of the 20th
Yeah.
century, what was the environment about, or what were people talking about? Behavior, behavior,
Yeah.
behavior, 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 social, 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 interaction, 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 interaction. It's understandable that she came up with this conclusion because she was being, what she
Yeah.
said was like, let's forget about the social just for a moment. Let's understand the kid. Let's understand the individual, the kid, the
Yeah.
child. Of course, she would come to this conclusion that, wait a minute. So,
She's a
um,
product of her time, right? Like
she's a product of
all,
her time.
yeah,
If
yeah,
we're analyzing the individual and they are by themselves, if they have freedom, they will come
yeah,
to the result, the linguistic result. Then of course it's
yeah.
not about logical thinking, it's about something that we ourselves already
Yeah.
have, something biological. This is a
Maybe an
conclusion, that's a
acquisition
logical
device.
conclusion. she
Yeah,
she never said that. Well, she said a mechanism.
yeah,
Okay. She said a mechanism, but she never said a device. And
yeah.
then in
True.
the late 50s, we came with Chomsky and all these things. But this is one of the misconceptions that we have. And it's possible to understand why, because it's in the book. So if a
Exactly.
person is responsible for a Montessorian school and reads that, the person is going to be like, okay, so all we have to do is put the kid inside of an environment and language is going to happen eventually. Now
Yeah.
it's 2024, guys. 2024. It's been more than a century that we've had this idea of Maria Montessori. It's over
And
6 decades that we have
neuroimaging
Chomsky.
studies. Hello,
We have
folks.
technology. We have a
Yeah.
lot of important things going on right now.
Yeah.
So 2024, guys, come on. Let's
Yeah.
not let's not get caught on the trap, because this is a trap. We have to take this into consideration. That's
Yeah.
what you said, dude. She is the product of her time, as
Yeah.
we are the product of her time. Maybe 30 years in the
Exactly.
future, some person is going
A
to
lot of the
see
things
this
we're
video
saying
and they're
here
going to be
are
like,
like,
what are these guys saying?
yeah, that's true. That's true. We
Well,
have to revisit. That's what science is about. We got to revisit things
yeah,
as time goes by. But Giselle just reminded us of something, man. There is a
yeah,
raffle going on, folks. So if you are here with us live, make sure you take a look at the chat. Yeah, and there's a form for you to fill out, and you might get one of 3 Giselle kits. How about that, huh?
yeah.
Awesome. All right. So don't forget to fill out the form.
Even though
Yeah.
we're talking now, right now, we're exploring the flaws in the Montessorian method.
Yeah.
You guys want to have access to these books. You want these books that Giselle is giving away for
Yeah.
real, for real. You want that. You want all these
Yeah. I
things.
mean, seriously, folks, I think everyone can learn a lot from Montessori, her contribution. One of the
Yeah,
things that and I think this is again going back to the criticism. If you think about Montessori in schools, the whole purpose behind creating the Casa dei Bambini in 1907 was to allow kids from complicated, vulnerable backgrounds, low socioeconomic status, to actually receive a decent, top quality education. And today, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of great examples of public Montessorian schools. So access is limited for, for middle class, upper, high class, and things
yeah,
like that. So it's a shame that her vision has not really caught up, let's say, with the times, because I agree. I know that a lot of people who went through a Montessorian school, so people who attended Montessorian schools, they have broken ground. Like the guys who founded Google, they were Montessorian students. A lot of people from the Silicon Valley in California. Those the big tech industry, they went to Montessorian schools, and that's very funny because that brings us closer to the last bit of this conversation. So what is the connection between Montessori and the digital devices that we have? We're going to talk about that, but here's a hint.
yeah.
Here's a hint, huh? A lot of those people who are big tech tycoons, they really started new industries. They didn't really have a lot of contact with technology at school, because they went to a Montessorian school. So look at the paradox, huh? Well, yeah.
That's absolutely
Enough
right.
said, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right, dude. That's
Yeah,
absolutely right.
that's
Uh,
it.
but again, uh, we're going to connect everything with the digital era, because there is a strong connection here. But once again, we're talking about freedom. And if you guys have followed Chá Pedagógico since the beginning, you already know that language, well, we're both uh, cognitivists. So we deal with cognition, and
Yeah.
everything we do is under the lens of cognition.
Yeah.
So our perspective,
Not
our
in the
academic,
Piagetian, sense. Like
holy
we
shit,
so
no.
we believe in. Forget what Rudy just said. I we also believe in social interaction and humanism and all. When I say Piaget, it's not just that there are certain things in the brain that are going to flourish according to certain ages, and pretty much what Montessorian said. It's not just about that, but we always look through the lens of cognitive sciences, right?
Yes, yes, because again, uh, think hopefully nobody paid attention to what I was saying.
I heard a beep, a glitch.
Yeah, there was a glitch. There's going to be this is going to be exploited somehow. I don't know. You already know that uh, the perspective of language acquisition that we have is the cognitive perspective. So we need to have social interaction so that the social interaction triggers cognitive activity.
Yeah,
And this cognitive activity that we're talking about, uh, which somehow is connected to what Montessori said, because we need the environment. And the environment in in cognitive linguistics, the environment is really important. Some people actually say that cognitive linguistics can be considered situational linguistics. Okay, because the
yeah,
environment is very important, because the language is part of the environment, and there is a
yeah.
person that's also part of the environment, which is going to play the role of the adult, air quotes here, because not always the
Exactly,
adult, but the model, the linguistic model. And then there is a combination between what the person is saying with what the person is probably doing, some sort of physical manipulation. They call it sensorial experience.
exactly.
And this is going to interfere, this is going to reach the person, the kid, for example. The kid is going to make an analysis and connect the environment to the person to the language.
Yeah,
This is going to help the kid develop their own meaning, their own concept. And the language is important because the language is going to be pretty much like a label for the movement, for the
exactly.
situation, for
The
whatever
kid
is
is
going on out there,
mapping the environment in their brains. You
all
know,
the time,
you
all the time.
remember, I don't know if you watched this movie, man. It was a movie with Brie Larson that she was captured by this guy, and she
By the
had
Cree.
not the Kree, not Captain Marvel. Yeah, I think it was called The Room or something. The Room, wasn't it? So
I don't know. I don't know.
people
If,
who
I
are
don't
watching
remember.
us, you probably know, but that's a good. They probably know. Brie Larson, she was captured. She was
Yeah.
kidnapped by someone, and she was kept in a room for. Um, I'm back. Okay, I think your connection. I don't know, but anyway, so I'm back. I'm back. You're back. You are back. I can hear you now. I can see you now. Yeah, but you disappeared for 2 seconds. But anyway, so the room. I think that's the name. The room. So she was kidnapped. She was kept in this room for years, and there was a guy who would go there, and abuse her. And then she got pregnant. She had a baby. I think the name of the baby was Jack. And you can see that as he grows, he's growing up in this room. That's the whole universe for this kid, because he's never allowed out, right? He's never allowed
Mhm.
outside the room. But here's the interesting thing: he still develops language like any other kid, any other human being would, because of his interaction with his mom. So there you go. You need to have social interaction to develop. You cannot develop language, self-develop, by
Yes.
simply interacting with the world. You got to interact with at least one person,
Mhm.
your caregiver, your parents. But
Yes.
then Yeah, somebody, Eric. Yeah, Eric is in the background there helping us. Room, O
Quarto do
Quarto
Jack.
do Jack. That's the
There you
one. Yeah,
go.
that's a great movie, by the way, for people who
Thanks,
like
Eric.
languages. So
Always saving
yeah,
us,
that's the one.
helping
So good.
us.
Yeah, but the whole thing is you cannot simply expect kids to interact with the environment and figure out stuff on their own. They need to have someone teach them certain things, certain labels, like language. I mean, we talked about that in the last episode. If
Yeah,
some, if a kid sees something and decides that I'm going to call this thing, then there's nobody to correct them.
yeah,
So what, right? So you got to have
yeah.
parameters. Yeah.
And there's one more thing that we have as a misconception. I mean,
Yeah.
if you give kids all the freedom that they want, they're not going to have this mediation
Yeah.
from an adult. And then, linguistically speaking, they are going to lack this input, or they're going to lack this, uh, well, interference, for better of a good, for lack of a better term. So they're
Yeah.
not going to have this linguistic interference, which in this case is good, is a good thing. And there's also the case that the kids that don't want to interact, when they see themselves in this freedom, and if the kid feels all right in this uh, loneliness,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? How are you going to develop this kid linguistically speaking? Now, okay, we're talking about language acquisition here. So
Yeah.
how is this kid going to develop their linguistic repertoire if this self-proclaimed Montessorian school gives all the freedom that kid wants? So we
There you go.
need that. So
Yeah.
we need we need a mediation, and this mediation is for the kids to
Yeah.
actually uh, not achieve but retrieve, access their cognitive activities. And
True.
once again, when we talk about cognitive activities, we're talking about uh, grouping things, selecting things, contrasting things. So
Yep.
these are cognitive activities, some examples of cognitive activities that we're talking about,
Exactly.
and we do that when we develop a language. We
And
do. We
we do.
access
And
that.
here's the thing. Deborah asked a very interesting question that
Yeah,
I think
just seeing
follows
here.
after that. So she says, it seems to me that the most Montessorian schools in Brazil include mainly or okay, only the early childhood education level. Yes. Why do you think this method is tossed out in other educational levels? So here's the thing. Here's the catch, Deborah. Uh, there's research showing that there kids coming out of a Montessorian school when they are a certain age, especially after 6, so because they are more cognitively able there,
Hmm.
they will have a hard time transitioning to regular schools because, as you can probably imagine, they are completely different, right? Very, very different. And so we know that our educational system is pretty much based on high stakes tests, teacher centered classes, behaviorism, all of that. It's very hard for kids to transition. Now, what happens is usually when kids start Montessorian, they can actually go to a Waldorfian school
Yeah.
that it's a smoother transition right there, but they are not as well prepared usually for what's coming next, high school level. It doesn't mean that they haven't learned more interesting and relevant things. It means that they have a hard time adapting to the high stakes testing that goes on, and that means that they may be at a disadvantage when here in Brazil when they take Enem, for example, or vestibular,
Exactly. I was about to tell that.
yeah, so
Yes.
they may
Uh,
be at a disadvantage because of that. It doesn't mean that they are less capable, less intelligent, they have learned less. I think they have learned even more important things if you think about it.
yeah.
But because we narrow kids according
It's
to that,
yeah,
right? It's a funnel.
our
Yeah.
educational system is all about our educational system at a certain point, actually from the elementary school onwards. The Brazilian educational system
Yeah.
is driven by uh, Enem,
Yeah.
and vestibular.
Yeah.
It's all about that.
Entry
And this is a
exams,
big
folks.
problem
For you, if you're not from
for,
Brazil,
yeah,
like
yeah, for foreigners,
entry
entry
exams
exams like
for
SATs,
universities. Yeah.
yeah, like SATs and all those exams for people who want to get into a university. We do have
Yeah.
this in Brazil, and the Brazilian public, the Brazilian educational system is based
Yeah.
on, is centered
Yeah.
on the entry exams, and this is a big problem because of what André was saying. How are you going to prepare kids for a 2 day exam? And
Yeah.
it's considered, I don't agree with that. I'm just repeating what everybody says, the
Yeah.
most important exam of their lives, which is not
Right.
for real.
Not.
This is not. There are many more important things going
Yeah.
on, or just as important things. I'm
Yeah.
not just saying it's not
Yeah.
important. I'm saying it's not the only most
Dude,
important thing in their
you
lives.
gave an
It-
example. Sophia can brush her teeth independently. So, what one thing that we find consistently is that kids from Montessorian schools, they are self-sufficient much
yes,
more than kids do
yes,
who go to typical schools. So, and that's
and
very important. We don't teach that at regular schools, right?
exactly. And then imagine, Deborah, imagine the following scenario. Imagine a fully fledged Montessorian school. When I say fully fledged, I mean from kindergarten to high school, to the final grade of the high
Yeah.
school, and totally Montessorian. And then these kids go to the ninth grade, and they don't do well at
Yeah.
vestibular for UFSCar, okay, or Unicamp or whatever. What do you think the parents are going to do
Yeah.
for real? So of course the school is going to protect themselves. They're going to be like, oh, no, 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 let's not do this. The school that my daughter studies,
Yeah.
they go they go Montessorian again up to a certain level. From that point onwards, it's not
There you
Montessorian
go.
anymore. They try to bring some aspects of the
Yeah.
Montessorian method so that they don't have like a clash of ideologies, educational ideologies or hypotheses or theories or methods or whatever. But it's not Montessori. It's not as Montessorian as they were in K4 or K5 or whatever. And
Exactly.
there's also one more thing. Uh, it's hard to prepare the teachers to be Montessorian
Yeah.
with teenagers. It's going to be more difficult. And there's
Definitely.
also another problem. It's going to be more difficult. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that dealing with kids, oh, it's super easy. No, no, I'm not saying it's super easy. But it is going to be more difficult because teenagers present different kinds of difficulties for teachers.
Yeah.
For example, even though they are still social beings, teenagers, but they are social beings with their groups, within their groups. They
Yeah.
already have
They're
social
social beings
groups
with an attitude.
with an attitude.
Yeah.
So this is going to make the life of the teacher super hard.
Yeah.
And there's another thing. The number of students that we have uh, from a certain point onwards increase, which is
Yeah.
also a difficulty for teachers. So we have a
Yeah.
lot of factors. Andre presented a lot of factors. I presented a lot of factors. There are
True.
probably more 225 billion factors that we could, explore here.
Yeah.
But this is one
But
of the reasons why
yeah.
it would be great to have a full-fledged Montessorian school from the early years till the ninth grade.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But so two things to wrap this up, so we can talk about the digital era, right?
yes,
But
finally,
yeah, so what you said, Rudy, very very important, man. And there's a book by Mitchell Resnick. It's called Lifelong Kindergarten, and
oh
he
yeah,
he makes the point. He makes your point, Deborah. He says, why not use the best invention in education, which was the kindergarten? According to him, is the best thing for education
yeah,
because you allow kids to explore the world and learn. Why not use that model throughout the whole system of education, right? And then he explains how that can work. So I really Highly recommend the book Lifelong Kindergarten by Mitchell Resnick. But then there's also the idea that our educational system has to keep the human legacy alive. So I know that
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but we have to prepare some people to become astrophysicists. We do. We have to prepare some people to become mathematicians, biologists. Phyto plankton biologists. So the only way you can get people to that level is if they have being exposed to the entirety, let's say, of the human contribution in that particular area. So I know that's not for everyone. That's the problem with the educational system. We treat everyone as if they were going to become an academic, a scholar, a researcher. I know that. But we have to have that, because otherwise we don't make science progress. So we have a
Yeah.
problem with there are people who will find out when they're in ninth grade, hey, I want to be a neurosurgeon. And the only way they're going to find out those things is if they had a lot of biology lessons and they fall in love with the brain.
Yes.
So they have to
Otherwise, they're
learn.
gonna.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they are going to be podcasters. They're going to have
They're
podcasts
going to
on
have
YouTube.
podcasts on YouTube on Sunday drinking tea. Um, but
And look like bombs.
and look
Now,
like bums. Yeah,
and
that's
look
our
like bombs.
trademark. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But dude, we got to talk about the
but there's a
technology part, the
yeah,
digital
and there's
era,
one
huh?
more
Don't
thing.
forget.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we've been talking about Maria Montessori and the Montessorian method. We expressed and we stressed many times that this was a post World War One
Yeah.
method that came up, and then it was probably supported or
Yeah.
boomed by the whole newer things that happened, especially in the late 60s with the advancement of technology and all these things.
Yeah.
And everybody started saying, okay, now we can take a look at it. We can explore the brain and blah, blah, blah. But it's
Keep
2024.
talking. I gotta do something for my cat. Otherwise, it's gonna be crazy. Just 1 minute, okay? Keep
Okay.
talking.
Of course. But it's 2024. And in 2024, we're living in the era of Chat GPT, for example. We're living in the era where we see algorithms um, thinking, well, air quotes here, because anyway, we're not getting into that. What's the connection that we have with this? Let's understand one thing: algorithms, artificial intelligence, technology, and all these things, they're tools. Okay.
Yeah.
They're tools. They're a tool just like a hammer. Okay. I,
Yeah.
I I have a hammer here, but I don't use my hammer for everything in my life. I don't use a hammer for everything in
If
my
you're a
life.
hammer, every problem is a nail. Isn't there a
Exa-
saying like everything is a nail? And
I think so. Everything
yeah,
is a nail. And what are
or
what
a
are you
hammer.
going to
Yeah.
do? You're going to smash. You're going to
Yeah.
Hulk out things. Hulk
Exactly.
smash. So you're going to smash everything.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Chat GPT, for example. Chat
Yeah.
GPT is a tool.
Yeah.
One of the problems that we have with Chat GPT nowadays, because it's a tool and because it's a powerful tool that gives us a lot of options,
Yeah.
we tend to be super lazy with these things. Okay.
There you go.
It's like what we were saying with Maria Montessori and some of the schools saying that, oh, I'm Montessorian because my kids are super free here and all these things. They can do whatever they want. If you have a person developing a language, for example, because again, I'm a linguist, I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not a sociologist, blah. Um, if these guys are super free, they are going to use Chat GPT. Chat GPT is going to provide a lot of answers to certain linguistic
Yeah.
questions. And then if the person is super lazy, the person is going to be like, oh, great, I'm going to copy and paste whatever Chat GPT is giving me. So
Yeah.
you eliminate the reasoning part of
And
the
the
process.
work, man. So we were talking, why are Montessorian schools, I mean the good ones, the
Hands
right
on.
ones, why are they so hands-on? Why do they work? Because the kids actually have to do the work. They got to get the work done. So, they set the table. Yeah, they set the table. They cook sometimes, depending on their age, but they got to do the work. Otherwise, their brains are not going to consolidate those things as long term memory. This is the danger we're facing more than ever today, because technology came to make our lives easier. So technology came to help us learn better. But if technology does the thing for us, we don't
Yeah.
do it, then we're not learning. We're actually
Yeah.
just getting something done for us. We have to be very careful when we use tech tools that actually get the work done instead of the kids. We have to
Yes.
have, sure, we can use those technologies. Like Rudy said, they're tools, but we got to know how to use them. We know, as Rudy and I, we've trained teachers from schools. We know that a lot of parents, they actually want the kids to get the right answer no matter what. They want it. So I want my kid to have the right answer.
That's
Sometimes
troublesome. That's
parents,
troublesome.
they give the answers. They answer. They do the activities for their kids, or they give the right answer. So what about the process of getting there? That's what matters for learning. That's
Yeah.
how we learn. The process is what
Yes.
matters. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Actually, this is one of the MBA principles. This is one
exactly.
of the basic
you know,
MBA. It's a
yeah,
basic MBA principle. If you take a
yeah,
look at Tracy Tokuhama's books, and there are
exactly.
probably
Yeah,
several out there. I have two of them here with me.
yeah.
Um, this is a basic principle of neuroscience.
I
Uh,
think, if I'm not mistaken, all brains change according to experience and also
experience.
genetic, right? But
Yes.
if you think about it, so neuroplasticity has a very strong connection with experience, right? So you have to go through a certain situation for you to be able to learn, and you
Yeah.
have to pay attention so that you can create memory, and then you can learn. So those are the things
Yes.
that you have to do. If you don't do
That's
them,
it.
if you say, "Hey, ChatGPT, do that for me," you're not learning.
You remove that. You
Yeah,
you eliminate the con the vessel that's going to
yeah.
transfer the information, because that's
There
pretty
you
much
go.
it. you know Once again, it's a tool, it's a powerful tool. I'm not saying that we're up completely against ChatGPT. I use
No,
ChatGPT, for crying out loud, on my browser. I have a browser here. I have ChatGPT
dude.
embedded
I
in my
wrote. I
browser.
ChatGPT has helped me write blog post parts of my book. And
But what we
yeah,
got to do,
yeah.
big sister, yes, I know, I
Ah,
know, I
it's
know,
time
I
for us to do it.
know.
Okay, let's.
I
Yeah,
know, I know. Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're
we're
about to
wrapping up.
finish. I know, we're about to
Yeah,
finish. We're about to finish.
and then we're gonna have to raffle.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
cool. Is it time for us
S-
to do it? Let's do it.
let's wrap. Let's
Yeah, let's wrap.
finish what we were talking about, and then
Yeah,
we go for the prizes.
yeah,
Um, so ChatGPT is a powerful tool. We're not completely
yeah,
against ChatGPT, but what we have to be very careful with is how we're using it. Are we relying entirely on ChatGPT, or other tech tools?
yeah.
Because if we are, we have to review this attitude, this behavior.
Exactly.
We can't, linguistically speaking, if a person is developing, and we're always developing our linguistic repertoire, we're always creating, enhancing, or fine-tuning, or concepts or meanings in all these things. So if we are doing this and we're using ChatGPT, you have to guide people who use ChatGPT, your students. You have to say,
Yeah,
look, ChatGPT is giving you this, but this is only the starting point. What can you do yourself from that point onwards? Because once again, if you're a language teacher, for example, and if you're teaching any kind of language, native language, like here in Brazil is Portuguese, or if you're teaching a foreign language, it doesn't matter. your student is your student is going to feel super comfortable using ChatGPT, because, for crying out loud, what
yeah,
it's super easy. No, they need to think. They need to be able to actually engage in any kind of social conversation or social interaction. Sorry, social
Yeah.
interaction. That's what I wanted to say. They need to engage in that so that they receive the spoken information, process that, and then generate the feedback so that the interaction keeps rolling. That's how it
That's it.
works in language.
Yeah.
And if they use Chat GPT and for some reason they engage in any kind of social interaction and there's no Chat GPT,
Yep.
they don't know how to do, they don't know what to do. All
Yeah.
right. So
So I
that's why
think
we
we
need to be
to
very
wrap
careful.
up, I think we have to remember that. So Montessori was really hands-on. It was about exploring the environment, learning from different centers or stations, but also communicating with the mediator, the tutor, the kids around who would come and help. But it was really about getting the work done. And this is why it's so incredibly memorable if you think about it. If you compare kindergarten to a normal regular school, right, to a Montessorian school, you have a lot more memorable experiences because you're actually there touching things, going around, testing things, following your intuition, your curiosity. And that works because you are building your knowledge, right? Now, if there's anything that replaces that, so it does the processing for you, then you're not learning. You have to do it yourself. And I know that parents are always eager to help their kids. So the best thing you can do to help your kids is to encourage them to get the process going, not to
Yes.
do it for them, but say, I'm here to support you. I'll help you through this, but I'm not going to do it for you. I
Yeah.
might actually help you figure out a model. So here's an
Yeah.
example of something that looks like that, but let's try to do that and you do it yourself. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Any technology that replaces that processing is going to hinder
Hmm.
learning. It's not going to
Yes.
help learning. That's why, guys, social media, uh, artificial intelligence tools, that actually do stuff for kids or take their
Hmm.
attention away from the stuff that they should be learning, not cool. And we have to set a limit, probably. What is the best
Hmm.
age for them to start using stuff like that, right?
Yes.
But, dude, it's
And
time
even
for us
for us,
to,
sometimes
yeah,
it hinders even for adults.
it does.
It's troublesome even for adults. But it's
Yeah.
time.
It's time.
Before,
It's time.
yeah, we're
The
going.
raffle.
Actually, Giselle, as you guys, Giselle is our
Yeah.
big supporter here at Chá Pedagógico, and we're very, very grateful for that. Thank you, Giselle, for that. Thank you
Okay.
guys for being here with us. I don't have the head count for the number of likes, but before we give away the kits from Giselle, don't forget to subscribe to their channel because Chá Pedagógico,
Yes.
actually, Giselle's YouTube channel is the new house for Chá
That's
Pedagógico. So
true.
subscribe to the
Yeah.
channel. Don't
Yeah.
forget to hit the thumbs up. Why? Because when you hit the thumbs up, YouTube is going to understand that the more people like the episodes of Chá Pedagógico, the more they are going to offer to other people.
That's true.
So the more
So
like
if you think
numbers
it's
that we
worth
have,
listening to us, do it.
yes, it is.
We got to
Yes, it
ask them,
is.
Rudy.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. So please don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to click on the little bell icon because then every time Chá Pedagógico is on, you are going to be notified. You don't have to
That's it.
keep, when is the next Chá Pedagógico?
Yeah.
Don't worry because then YouTube is going to remind you when Chá Pedagógico is on
Yeah.
because you clicked on the little bell icon. And now our big sister is going to
So
give
the
away
raffle's
3 Giselle's
coming.
kits.
Yeah. Are we doing all three now? I guess so, right? Or I don't know. Let's see. Like,
I don't know.
let's follow the instructions. The
Yes,
boss,
the big sister.
the big sister. So I think we can do it.
She's the boss.
All right. So we have your names here, and we're going to select. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. So now you can see it, right?
Yeah, now
All
they
right.
can.
So
Dun, dun, dun,
hit the button.
dun.
Let's see. Let's see who's going to get this amazing kit. All right. Are you ready, folks?
Kid number
Oh my God, I
one.
can't take the pressure, the tension. Okay,
Oh, there are
cool.
three names.
There,
Who's the
oh, there are
winner?
three names
Marcia.
already. Okay, awesome.
Marcia. Marcia's the
Marcia
winner, right?
Soares, Marcia, Maristela, and
Uh,
Cirilo. They are all the winners because we have
are they
three.
all the winners? We have
I
three
guess
names.
so.
The three of
That's
them?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Marcia, Maristela, and Cirilo. Okay,
Cirilo,
so
cool.
we got to tell them all their names. So Marcia Soares Guimarães,
Yeah,
Maristela P.A. Gama,
Gama and Cirilo
Cirilo
Almeida.
Almeida. You
Yes.
guys have just won a kit from Disal.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's amazing. Congrats,
Congratulations.
folks. Yeah,
Please get in touch with Disal. And if for some reason you don't know how to get in touch with Disal, you can get in touch with us. And then we're
yeah.
going to give you the directions to Disal.
We're going to be like
Congratulations.
Montessorian mediators,
Yeah.
pointing in the right direction. And
Super
then you
cool,
go there.
guys.
Yeah,
Super cool. Super cool. So,
yeah.
congratulations to the three of you guys. And once again,
Awesome.
thank you so much for joining us in this yet another amazing episode of Chá Pedagógico. We're going to have another Chá
Yeah,
Pedagógico in March.
there you
I
go.
don't remember when it's going to be because we're having
It's usually the last Sunday of
it's
the
the last,
month.
yeah, but
We
if
have
I'm
to
not wrong, the
anticipate
last
because
Sunday of
I'm
March
traveling
is
next week, but I think the last Sunday of March is the 30th, maybe. I think it's the 30th.
no, I'm in April. Yeah, well, yes,
Uh,
31st, the
or
31st,
30, oh,
which I
31st.
think
Okay.
is
31st. Yeah.
oh yeah, it's it's Easter. Jeez, Jeepers
It's
Creepers.
Easter. Okay.
It's Easter. It's
So
Easter.
we're going to
So
have to figure out a
it's going
date.
to be on the 24th.
24th.
Going to
Yeah.
be on the 24th. So
Perfect.
guys, the next Shop Pedagógico, so you can already, put on your schedule. So the next
Yeah.
episode of Shop
Wednesday.
Pedagógico is going to be March 24th, Sunday, here, Disal. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit
Yes.
the like button. Don't forget to click on the bell icon. And don't forget to share the links. Don't forget
Yeah.
to use the hashtag on your social media.
Follow
Thank
us
you.
on social media.
Follow us
Follow
on social
Mattiello,
media.
Consultoria, André Hedlund LS on Instagram, so we can share stuff with you guys there.
And
Okay.
Disal Distribuidora as well. Don't forget to follow them
Yes.
because they also help us promote the episode. Okay, guys.
All right,
Woo,
dude.
thank you so
It's
much. It
time
was
for us to
awesome.
go. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's I always have fun talking to Rudy. But
We made it.
so I had a lot of fun with Rudy a couple of weeks ago in Campinas. He took me to a pub and we watched the rock band, an awesome rock band. Campinas
was freaking awesome.
Rockaways. Okay, Campinas Rockaways. If you're
I
listening to
guess
us,
so.
probably not. You guys rock. Okay, so see you guys.
We're gonna
Bye-bye.
tag them in the shorts. Guys, thank
We're
you so
gonna
much.
tag them,
Jessica,
yeah.
thank you, Jessica.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jessica, Eric, Tamiris, and
Everybody.
Linka, who were there. Okay, awesome. Bye bye.